Hi, Bloomers. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to all my new subscribers. It's time for a real talk about depression and anxiety. So, lately I found out two things. One of them is that I'm going through a very masculine journey internally. So, I think like a man and I feel like a woman. Number two, the majority of my subscribers and my followers are actually men. So I thought I have a voice, I have a journey, and I have an audience. So some things need to be discussed. So usually I annoy my female friends because I tend to sympathize with what their partners go through, right? They bring me a situation that they're going through with their partners, and I always find empathy for what they're going through, right? And I explain to them. And it's very often that they ask me, what should I say? What should I do? And I actually give them the right advice because somehow that would work with what I'm going through internally as well. So, regardless of your gender, I always say don't get stuck in your genitalia. It doesn't matter what kind of weapon you carry between your legs. You can very easily have a very female journey on the inside and go through a very masculine journey on the outside, or vice versa. But I do feel that it is about time we talk about depression, but not just the depression that we're feeling now, but go to the root of what it is that we're feeling, because depression has so many shades of gray. Literally, you can be going through a depression and still be a highly functional person, right? In the sense that you wake up every day, you follow the script, you take a shower, you take breakfast, you kiss your kids and your wife goodbye, you go to work, you do whatever it is that you have to do. You have your mind very busy with tasks, but as soon as you go out for lunch or when you sit in your car to drive back home, there's this emptiness, this void, this loneliness that starts to loom over you, and you're feeling it again, right? So it's not that depression and anxiety is something that is happening 24/7. It can have peaks where you feeling like it's hitting you extremely hard, and then some days you feel a little bit better. So it is a bipolar feeling that we experience while going through it. I have suffered from anxiety from a very young age, and I used to have panic attacks and anxiety episodes and all of that. That would really take me to the extreme of thinking I am going to die and no one can help me. But I have also experienced moments where I was extremely depressed, even though I was still functioning with other people or at work or with my relationships, right? So it's not a one size fits all to say, well, these are the symptoms of depression and this is how people act while they're going through it, because it could be that you are experiencing some kind of depression, even though your symptoms and your effects are not fitting the checklist that your doctor would describe them as, so, right? So the first thing that we need to understand is that the depression is a physical and emotional response to a mental state of being. So everything starts with one thought that then transforms into an emotion, that then transforms into a physical response, and then consequently, it turns out to be a shutdown of some areas of our bodies and the physical consequences of that, right? You may start to feel like your health is going down the drain, that you can't sleep, you can't have a moment of peace and quiet by yourself, right? So the moments where you can find peace of mind start to be less and less and less, and then you really start to feel yourself falling into that void, right? Where there's no space that it's comfortable for you, there's no space where you feel safe and secure to experience your emotions. But it all starts with one thought. It's just one thought. And we need to look at the root of our thoughts, because most of our most dominant thoughts are things that were said to us very, very often, and then they turned into an internal belief, and they turned into our inner voice, right? It's what we call the monkey mind. It's where all those thoughts spend the whole day attacking you, attacking every single situation that you're in. It's when you feel like you need to be on defense mode, right? Because you're constantly being attacked. So your body, as the learning tool of your mind, is obviously going to respond to those thoughts and those emotions as in being under attack, right? And so you start to shut down, right? It could be that you lose the appetite, you start to lose weight, you cannot focus anymore, you can't sleep. But on the other hand, waking up in the morning and finding the strength to actually get out of bed, it's just too much to bear, right? I remember for me, at the peak of my depression, I would wake up in the morning and just opening my eyes and having to understand that I would have to be awake and aware and go through the whole process of being alive again would just set me into a spin of an ugly cry early in the morning, right? I didn't feel like I could just actually face my day because everything felt like it was an attack to me. My relationships, my boss, my work, the bills I had to pay, the house that I had to clean, all my responsibilities became so overwhelming that they would really feel like they were attacking me, right? So I got to a point where I had no reaction. Obviously, I'm going to be annoying and saying, meditate, meditate, meditate. But before I push you off that cliff, I want you to understand, when is it that it's getting too much for you? Because you need to understand what your limits are. You need to understand where is the edge of yourself. And for you to understand that we can only go so far without being in touch with ourselves, with our emotions, and what we are experiencing. What usually happens is that we ignore many situations in our lives. We ignore things that makes us upset. We ignore things that really hurt us, and we start to feel powerless. And that is a feeling that starts to increase as time goes by. And the more we feel powerless and disempowered to change our external environment, the less we feel able to do it internally, right? I describe this process as when there's an airplane accident, right? You need to put your mask first before you save anybody else. Because if you're going to try to save someone else, meaning trying to fix your external environment in the hopes of changing your internal state of being, that's not going to have any effect at all, right? So it all starts with us. It starts with us understanding that, okay, I am reaching the edge of myself. I know myself. I can feel how my body is starting to shut down. I can feel how my mind is not able to process anything that is happening around me, and I need help. I need help. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with you asking for help. There's nothing wrong with you saying, I have failed. And there's nothing wrong saying, this is too much for me. Because that is the first day of the rest of your life. You will remember that day, believe me. You remember the day where you say, this is where I change my story. This is where I change my narrative. This is where I shift into who I really am, the potential of me. This is me understanding that I have reached the point where I am operating well below my abilities. This is the day where I say I am not alone. This is the day that I say I have people who care for me. This is the day where I say I'm going to make sure that I take care of myself first. I'm going to make sure that I express my emotions, that I ask for help, that I share with others what's happening with me. This is the day where I start to feel understood, supported. This is the day that I make the decision to start living my life. This is the day I'm going to change my thoughts and then change my emotions and then change my environment. So it really starts with that day when you decide. And if you decide today or tomorrow or in a week, it doesn't matter. But that moment is going to happen for you. That moment is going to happen for you. And when you reach that moment, the most important thing you need to do is ask for help. Speak up. Don't feel powerless. Don't feel disempowered to have to say, I am in a position where I cannot deal with my emotions. I need help. I need someone to sit down and listen. I need someone to help me. There's nothing wrong with that. And then understanding that I am powerless to my own environment. I am not able to control anything that is happening around me in terms of my relationships, my work, and other things that are being overwhelming to me at the moment. I cannot control any of those things. I don't have the mental ability. I don't have the emotional space. And I don't have the physical willingness to do it now. The only thing that I can do is take care of myself first. And the way I take care of myself first is by controlling my own thoughts, because I know that my emotions are being created from those thoughts, and then everything else follows that. So I'm going to go back to my thought that I don't deserve more than this, or I'm going back into my thought where I say, I just want to give up. Or I go back into my deepest thought, which is, I could die today and I wouldn't mind. Right? I need to go back to that thought. I need to change the root of that thought and turn it into something that is in alignment with what I believe to be my potential. And understand that I didn't come here to suffer. I didn't come here to give up. I came here to witness the unfolding of myself. And I know that every time I'm going through a moment where I'm feeling depressed, out of alignment, alone, abandoned, that is a very important moment for my own personal transformation. It means that I'm no longer comfortable where I am. It means that there is something bigger out there for me. And it means also that I have the ability to change that. I have the free will and I have the willpower to do it. I don't have to be afraid to do it, right? It's just uncomfortable to be in a situation where you feel you have no power and no control over your life. But ultimately, that really allows you to identify what it is that you want to change about yourself and your environment, right? We're born to believe in so many things. We hear our parents say that we will never amount to anything, or that we will never be anyone important, that we will never be able to achieve this or that. Or we grow up on the opposite side of the spectrum, hearing them say that what we're doing is never good enough, that we need to be more, earn more, do more. And we take those things as our own beliefs, and we never question them. We never take a moment to question things that were said to us that actually turned into our inner voice and our inner beliefs. Right? I'll give you a very specific example. I grew up, my father was very strict with meals. We needed to be all on time, sitting down, wait for my mom to start eating, and then we would start eating. He was very strict with mealtime. But me, as the Aquarius that I am, I loved singing at the table. God, I loved singing at the table. It was like as soon as I would sit down, that's when the inspiration would come and I wanted to sing everything. And I grew up with my dad saying, we don't sing at the table. This is something that I heard for so many years, so many times. We don't sing at the table. And only later on, when I had kids, that karma came back around, and my oldest son loved singing at the table. And there was one day where he started singing, and I said, we don't sing at the table. And as soon as the words came out of my mouth, I thought, wow, this is not me. Why am I opening my mouth and my father is coming out of it? And luckily, I have been raising my kids to be deep thinkers and intellectually individualistic. And so my son turned to me and he said, why? And I said, what do you mean why? He said, why can't we sing at the table? And I had to think about it. Was I supporting that belief? I mean, who even invented that we cannot sing at the table? Who was the first person who said we cannot sing at the table, and now everyone else that wants to sing at the table is suffering from that strict rule, right? And I had to think, and I'm like, why can't we sing at the table? Is it bothering me? Or am I living up to a standard that my dad created, right? Who am I trying to please here? Because it doesn't bother me that my son is singing at the table. It's just us, right? And so I told him, you know what? You're right. I don't know who invented the we don't sing at the table, but we don't have to use it here. And so it's important for us to identify that inner voice that is telling you all the wrong things that are not accurate and they're not helping you at all. I had a session with a client not long ago, and I told her something that really shocked her. I said, you spend your whole life trying to please your parents, and then they die. So then when they die, two things happen. One of them is you realize that now you're in your 40s and you haven't done anything for yourself because you've just been fulfilling a template of happiness that belonged to them. Or you don't even realize that by the time they die, and you're still trying to please someone who is not here anymore. And you're making decisions based on what they would think that would be good for you. So that's why I say go to the root of that thought. What is your thought? Go to the deepest and darkest one that you have. Don't be afraid to talk about it. If you feel like nobody ever listens to me, nobody ever helps me, nobody ever understands me, I am nothing, I am no one, I am of no use. I am never loved enough, I'm never cared for enough, people don't care about me. I'm not special, I'm not unique. Whatever that thought is, go back there and see how you can change it into something that fits today. By simply saying, this is not true, it is not accurate. I grew up believing that I am someone that I am not. But if I have the ability to create that thought that then triggered an emotion that brought me here to this shitty sensation today, then I can for sure go back and change it. Understand it. Understand that it was sold to me based on what was important for them, not on what was important for me. What was important for them, to see me doing, to see me performing. We don't sing at the table. Why can't we sing at the table? Be like my kid, ask yourself, why? Why can't we sing at the table? Or whatever your thought is, why? And then change, according to my parents, we're not supposed to sing at the table, but it's okay to sing at the table. Nobody's gonna die. It's not bad manners. I'm not less than who I am. And I'm not disturbing anyone. Right? So if you were raised in a house where your parents went through thick and thin together and because divorce was not an option and you had to endure all the trauma of a relationship just for the sake of the kids having the parents together, see how that can be affecting your relationship today. And on the other hand, if you went through the same situation and now today you're just thinking that I will not put my kids through that because I've been there and it's not pleasant, then see how that is changing you as well. Right? Because let me tell you something. if you are going through anxiety and depression and dark thoughts of suicide and just wanting to give up, it does not matter how much money you have in your bank account. It doesn't matter what car you're driving. It doesn't matter what kind of sheets you sleep on every night. There is nothing that is going to change your situation unless you change the way you think about yourself. So you can change the way you feel about yourself and change the way you act about yourself. It all starts with one thought. So when you identify that thought coming to you, the one that wants to bring you down, the one that says, you know, it's okay to think about you like that, go back and question it. Why is it okay? How am I allowing that thought to control my state of being? What validation do I have for that actually being the truth? By that being justified, by that being the way that I need to be in my life. Right? And how can I find something that actually fits what I am going through and what I believe in? Right? For me, after that day, I started questioning a lot of things. And I had one of my kids was pulling faces with his eyes and stuff. And I said, "That's bad for your eyes." And he said, "Is it?" And I said, "According to my mom, it is." So I had to change the way I looked at things and think we have been brought up to believe in a lot of things that were not necessarily accurate. And bless our parents, they didn't know any better. That's the fish that was sold to them by their own parents, right? But God damn it, we need to start questioning those things because we have a depressed society. And many of us are hiding behind alcohol, drugs, cigarettes, shopping addictions, food addictions, porn addictions, just to cope with the day-to-day life. So a depression can be a very transformational turning point in your life if you can use it to recognize that you are operating below your abilities, spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional. So make that your first day. Make that the day that you decide to change something by starting to change the way you think about yourself, feel about yourself, act about yourself. What are the beliefs that need to be reprogrammed in your mind? Where is your table and why can't you sing at the table? Right? I'm going to leave it at that, but I felt important because I do get a lot of messages from men who are going through depressive states. And I'm not generalizing this to say that men go through it and women don't. It's just that us women, we have a different way of approaching our emotions. We don't necessarily suppress them, unless you're me. But um, it is hard for a man to find a safe environment to actually express the way they're feeling without feeling disempowered, without feeling weak and vulnerable, without feeling like they're going to be judged, right? Because a man is raised to stand up, speak up, provide, protect, procreate, right? You need to be strong, big boys don't cry and all of that stuff. So it is hard for them when they reach a stage like this to find a safe environment to actually open up and ask for help. So it is easier for them to push people away, don't allow them in, and stay just on the surface of their reality without diving deep. Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that. I felt important that the message had to go out today. But just know that if you are going through the thick of it, keep going. There is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. If you do need help navigating this stage of your life, please reach out for me for a love transmission. I'd love to help you with that. And reach out, ask for help, take the first step, make today the first day when you decide to change the narrative of your life. Okay? You are loved. You are so protected. There are millions of us out there going through the same. You will be heard. You will be understood. You will be supported. Okay? I'm sending you so much love and so many blessings. And I'm really praying that you stay safe and protected within the power of your own heart. Big love to all of you.